Welcome to the Hypnosis NGH podcast. This podcast series offers a fun and serious look at hypnosis and offers various ideas, discuss case studies, along with NGH educational opportunities. Hello and welcome to the Hypnosis NGH podcast. I'm Eric Damon with the National Guild of Hypnotists. I'd like to welcome our guest, who's board certified hypnotist, certified instructor, and founder and president of Integrative Lifeworks of Bettendorf, Iowa. Please welcome Sandra Grace. Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Eric. Thanks so much for inviting me here today. It's an honor to be with you.
Absolutely. We're going to pick your brain today about hypnosis and all kinds of fun things. The first really important question I have to ask is, where is Bettendorf, Iowa?
In the middle of nowhere, the center of everything. So we're on the Mississippi River. So we are part of the Quad Cities, because you've probably heard of that. We're about 2 hours from Chicago, Illinois, and 2 hours from Des Moines, Iowa. So we're halfway between them on Highway 80. And it's a Mississippi community. And so we have, 3 or 4 bridges in our community. But most people, the only thing they know from our area is, if you've ever seen those big green tractors, John Deere's in Moline, Illinois, which is across the river. And
of course.
So, yeah.
That's important to have John Deere, right?
I know. We're farm country. So I've always lived in the towns, but there's always farms very nearby when you're in the Midwest. So.
Now, did you grow up in Iowa or?
Yeah, so I've moved 38 times in my life, but I was born in Iowa, and I went to my undergrad university was at Iowa State University, and so my family is in this area. But I've moved. I've lived in Texas, and I've lived in New England. I lived out in New Hampshire. I lived in Florida, and intend to keep moving around the globe. But right now, we'll be here for the next couple of years till my son graduates high school.
There you go. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, now that we got the mystery out of the way, that's. Now you've been teaching hypnosis since 1992, is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I've been a certified teacher since 1992. My undergrad was in speech communications and secondary education. So I used to train the top speakers, debaters, actors in the country. And I traveled 42 weekends a year and taking them everywhere from Harvard to USC to competitions. But then I moved out of that and moved into my own practice, where I would teach and train massage therapists, essential oil users, reflexologists, and so lots of other complementary healthcare. And I had this magnificent hypnotist that I used to refer my clients to when I realized that they would have some blocks that weren't so physical, structural, or energetic, but more mentally emotional. And then when she resigned her position and moved away, I said, what am I going to do with all of my clients that I referred to? And she said, well, you're going to go get certified. So I did.
Excellent. So that's what your business is all about, is collectively all of that together.
Yeah, kind of. So I have an online school where I teach and train integrative coaches, hypnotists, and energy workers. And so that's Integrative Lifeworks, Inc. And then I also do high-end coaching. So I work with a lot of millionaires groups and things like that to do entrepreneurial coaching. And so I work with people in any and all fields. I just came back from an event where I worked with a bunch of people in real estate investment and things like that. But I love to work with, hypnotists or complementary healers, folks that are maybe really good at their practice, but up until now didn't have a strengthened business. I really like to support them in being successfully financially free, so that they can, love on all the people and do all the things.
So you decided to get into hypnosis because obviously there's a void there. Mm-hmm. Talk about how you took your first class and
how I got started. So in '99, I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. I just released cancer, and I just became a massage instructor, and I was still teaching at the school. And during that time, I had a friend who wanted to go see this hypnotist. And she was nervous about it. And of course, the story is always so fun to tell, because I said, well, I'm not hypnotizable. And I know this because I'm a high school teacher, and we have all these stage hypnotists that come to the school, and they get me up on stage and they try and do stuff, and I'm just not hypnotizable. So because of that, I feel safe going with you to make sure nothing crazy happens when you go to this hypnosis event, right? So I went with her and I was only there a few moments and I felt very embarrassed because this was the nicest woman. She ends up being, one of my first mentors in hypnosis who was teaching the class, and she was obviously very credible and reputable, and she was teaching class, and I felt sort of silly. And so I felt embarrassed. And so when she went to do the hypnosis after the pre-talk, everyone took a restroom break and I went up. I said, I'm really embarrassed to be here. I just came because I know I'm not hypnotizable. And I said, and I was just watching out for my friend, but now I feel silly. And so does she. Like, clearly you're a safe environment. I think I'm just going to go. And she said, well, that's okay. And she said, would you like to just sit back and relax while we do this? And, maybe you won't go into hypnosis, but you'll just have a pleasant experience. And I said, well, sure. And then, of course, I'm a blowover. As people know, I've had all my surgeries under hypnosis and everything. And I went down deep because I felt safe, right? And I wasn't into stage. I didn't want to act out on the stage in front of all my high school kids. So that's how it started for me. And then after that evening, I went ahead and she trained me in self-hypnosis. And so I was taking my first trip out of the country, and I'd had motion sickness from the time I was 2 years old. And so every time I got on a plane, a train, a bus, a boat, from the time I could ever remember, from the time my mother could ever remember, I always would vomit. And so I told her I was taking this trip and I was really nervous about being getting really dehydrated because it was, such a long journey to Ireland. And then I was going to take a train and a bus and a boat and all that. And I said, do you think you could hypnotize me so I wouldn't get sick? And she said, well, I'll teach you self-hypnosis so that you can manage it. And so she did. And so she trained me and I practiced it and I went on the trip. And it was the first time in my life I took that huge plane flight, never got sick. We got off the flight. I took a bus, which buses were the worst for me, over to a train, which I took from Dublin out to Galway. I got on a boat. I went out to the Aran Islands and I got all the way out there and I was perfectly fine and not once. And I was sold. I was like, hypnosis is the answer. And so then I came back and I was like, what else can we do? What else can we do? So she and I put on events. At the time, I was a massage therapist and an energy worker. We put on events together, and she did the hypnosis and I did the other things. And then when she moved away, I said, what am I going to do? I found this ad in some Chicago magazine where Art Leidecker was doing training on cruises. And I was so excited. I was like, well, I'm going to get trained. I want to go on a cruise. But by the time I reached out to him, he was no longer doing cruises. So I was his last class, I believe, at the Leidecker Institute when Michael and Tatiana bought over the business. And so I trained there, and I had the blessing of being trained by both because they were doing their crossover phase.
Oh, nice.
So I trained originally with the NGH in 07. I became a hypnotist I'd been practicing hypnosis every day since 99, but I got certified in 07 with Art and loved him and loved his training. And then went on to do, obviously tons of follow-up courses with he and Scott Giles and medical and in other things over the years. And then I studied with Richard Hart for my teach the trainers. So I had already been a teacher, my whole career when we took the class. And so becoming an instructor felt like an easy step for me, but it was so great to do it with Dr. Hart because I just admired him so much. And so it was really great.
Wow. That's a great journey.
Yeah.
And obviously helpful for your traveling at the beginning to sell you on hypnosis in general.
Yeah. Oh man, it was incredible. And then I just loved how the community kept supporting me because it was Dr. Hart who said, "Oh, you need to get board certified. You need to move on to this." And I probably never would have done that without his inspiration and his support. And so it was really nice how you just build this hypnosis family, how people just keep encouraging you, next step, and then to go on to teach classes and things like that felt really great. So I've always been honored to teach at the conventions with my education background. It just felt natural and normal. I love it.
Excellent. Now, let me ask you: when somebody comes to you and for any everyday problem that they may have, weight loss or whatever it is, how do you talk? I know a lot of people come into hypnosis not knowing enough about it and are unsure about it. So what do you say to those folks that put them at ease, that make them relax, that they feel, again, more at ease, that hypnosis will help?
Yeah. Well, so I feel really honored to have had some really great instructors. And so my original mentor, Joe Couch, she trained with Shelley Stockwell, who was an NGH member from way back. And then Art and Dr. Hart. And the one thing that I believe, and I know there's differing thoughts on this, so some of you will disagree with me, But it is my truth that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It's my belief that ultimately it's a choice. And the reason I believe that is because of my personal experience. So, I can't swear to it, but if I had to guess who in Iowa was the stage hypnotist that brought me on stage, a wild guess is it was probably Jim Wand, my guess. But anyway, so I was on stage many times, and obviously I'm a somnambulist, I'm a blowover, right? But I didn't choose to go into hypnosis or behave that way in that environment, right? And when I was in an environment that I did choose to be safe, then I went very quickly. Now, since then, I've been in stage shows, and I have now created my own stage show, right? Because I have a different feeling about that. But at the time, I didn't want to be the entertainment, right? But when I felt I was using it for a clinical purpose, I went in really quickly and easily because I could see the benefits of the clinical work, and I felt comfortable and confident in that setting one-on-one with a practitioner. So what I tell my clients, because I believe it's to be true, is that self-hypnosis, all hypnosis, self-hypnosis, although I guide you, it's ultimately a choice that you must make, and that you must allow yourself and move yourself through those trance states with my expert guidance and support. And so because I believe that, and because that was my experience, that's my truth, then I believe clients feel really safe in my presence for that reason.
And that's really what it's about. If somebody wants to come see a hypnotist and they're leery about it or unsure, it's really about feeling that they're safe, and the fact that you're going to try and help them through whatever, and including learning self hypnosis so they can help themselves as well.
Yeah. And so I'm a big proponent in that. Like, as I teach the NGH curriculum, one of the things that I feel strongly in is, how we talk about teaching these self hypnosis courses. And when people are business building, because I am a business coach first and foremost, when people are business building, I tell them if you start by having these courses where you're empowering people through self hypnosis, then they can get to creating the states that they want and feeling the way they want to feel. And then they can come to you, and you can use your advanced skills in script writing and so on to get them to the next step or where they need to go. But I'm a strong proponent, and I'm all about teaching you to fish, right? And so for my model, for my method, I want to make sure that they feel empowered when they're not with me to change their state through the self hypnosis, and then they can come to me to do some of the deeper work, whatever that may be, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So, can you share any type of case study that you dealt with? That
Yeah. So most
obviously generic, but
Yeah. Most of what I do now is an integrative coaching approach where hypnosis is my primary modality that I use in integrative coaching. And I think that a lot of us are moving into that in the last few years. It's been supported by the guild too. And so the idea that as an integrative coach, I really look at what's happening for someone physically, structurally, mentally, emotionally, as well as spiritually or energetically, in alignment with their value system. And so for anyone who comes in with me, the first things that I look for is, do they have the physical foundations that they need in order for the mental emotional work we're going to do with them to stick? And so it's my belief that in order for the brain to work maximally, we have these physical structural foundations that must be in place. Like the brain is optimized when you're fully hydrated, when you have enough proper nutrition, including proteins and things like that, right? I feel that the brain works best when we've had the right amount of rest and movement. And so I use hypnosis to get people a strong foundation in those four categories. So anyone who comes to me, whether it's for business coaching or whatever they're coming for, I use our hypnosis techniques to make it easy for them to eat what they want to be eating and get enough water and get enough sleep and sleep well and soundly. And so I believe hypnosis is just so great on those foundational, elements that we always start with that. No matter why someone comes to me, I use hypnosis to improve their sleep, their nutrition, their movement, all those sorts of things. And then we start looking, okay, what are the thought patterns that need to change? What are the scripts that may have been written in the subconscious that need to be rewritten or deleted or edited? Or do we need to write a new script around something, And so then I have them, help to formulate the language that they want to hear so that we can put the script together for them that's in their language that's congruent with them. And then I have a real element to it, like many, and I know NGH has a whole division now that's really the spiritual side of the NGH. I was lucky enough to be a part of that at our last convention, that meeting. And I really believe that it must be in alignment with their value system. So I work with people of all faiths and all belief systems. And although I have a ministry, grace ministry, but I work with people of all belief systems comfortably. But I do know that the work we do has to be in alignment with their belief and their value system. Because if it's not, as soon as conflict comes up, they're going to default. And I want to have lasting change with clients. So if any client comes to me for anything, so my protocol is always to use hypnosis to get those foundations down, get them sleeping well, eating well, hydrated, all those things. Then we move into what are the thought patterns that need to be changed so that we can make it easy to do what you already want to do, right? And then how do you use your self hypnosis coupled with the sessions that I guide you through to get there? And then how do we make sure that all of this is in alignment with your spiritual truth?
But definitely, your approach is more than just hypnosis. You're looking at several areas to
And
help.
using hypnosis as the tool for each of those areas. And that's what a lot of people I think they don't see is they go, oh, she's a coach. She does coaching. Well, that's true. And my coaching method uses hypnosis in every level of the coaching that we do, because I think it's the fastest way to get results. And it just makes it easy to do what you want to do.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. That's nice. I mean, I think it's important for people to hear that it's more than just it's whatever cliche they have in their mind from a movie or something. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
People like it, as meditation became so mainstream and it became, so popular, I guess, to say that, oh, I meditate, and as people like that term so much, I often just say, well, I noticed that you said that, one of the things that helps you to relax is to meditate. And what does that look like for you? And then we'll just use that and say, like, well, there are similarities and differences between meditation and hypnosis. And so the similarity is because you already meditate, you're already used to using trance states, to alter your mood and feelings. And so the difference is with hypnosis, we utilize that, right? After we do the same similar things as inducing the state and deepening the state, we have this utilization phase that isn't necessarily there in most types of meditation. We actually use it for something before we emerge you, where so many forms of meditation are just about, inducing state and deepening state and emerging, or the absence of thought. We get to use that amazing place that you go to actually make lasting change for you, through the utilization phase. And people can relate to that. Like that just makes sense to them because, meditation is so mainstream now. People use that word so lightly.
no, that's actually true. That's great.
Mhm.
What do you see as the outlook for hypnosis as it relates to individuals and or businesses moving forward? You call it 10 years. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, it continues to grow and becomes an important part of a lot of people's lives.
Mhm.
How do you see it in 10 years?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, you should know that I am a huge follower and supporter of Scott Giles and all that he does for the National Guild. So my first answer would be, I would call Scott Giles and ask him because I trust his predictions because he does such a great job of keeping up with all of the legislature and all the states for us. And so my first answer is I default to the experts, and I see him as someone I very much respect and admire. So that's my first answer. But what I will tell you, which is more, I think, to the point of what you were asking, is that I notice. I mean, it's no secret that coaching is so trendy right now, right? Just how like yoga, was a select few for many years, and then it became so popular, right? And now everyone's a coach, right? And so for someone who trains coaches and who is, doesn't take that term lightly, I can see that coaching has become a more and more popular modality. And so I was recently this last weekend actually. They flew me out to New England, and I was at a conference in Portsmouth where I was training some folks, and there was another coach that spoke before me. And when we got done, she reached out to me, and one of the things she said is, "I'd be really curious about some of your hypnosis training." And this is what I really think. I think that more and more coaches, whether they're business coaches or health coaches or wellness coaches, I think more and more of them are going to understand that the most powerful tool that they could have in their coaching business is to be a hypnotist. So for those of you CIs out there, my answer is that you need to be marketing to additional audiences out there, particularly to coaches, because they're going to start figuring out that when I want to make lasting change in people, I need this tool. I need to be able to use hypnosis to help people. So I believe that hypnosis is going to be growing and thriving over the next few years. And I think organizations like the NGH that have been around so long with such a great reputation, right, over the years, I think that's where people are going to be leaning into. And so that's why I'm still so proud to, certify and train people through the NGH, because I feel like when we have the reputation that the NGH has had over the years and years of putting out great stage hypnotists and great clinical hypnotists and great, people that just help everyday people with everyday problems, right? So, and we also have a lot of specialists. Like I train a fair amount of doctors that want to add hypnosis into their practice, and I add, counselors or therapists that want to add hypnosis into their practice, right? And so I think that as we start looking for other professionals out there that want to use this tool, I think that hypnosis will be thriving and growing as we, as instructors, as we support other modalities and adding hypnosis.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that we're definitely seeing the fact that more people are accepting hypnosis and including it in whatever else they may do to help augment that. So,
Yeah. So I've had business folks for years that come and do my hypnosis certification and training that I know very well are never going to hang out a shingle as a hypnotist. But what they're going to use is all of these modalities that we use to better support their clients and to grow their business, because they understand that hypnotic language, right, can be very powerful in helping people getting from what they think they want to what they really need.
no, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think that, and there's lots of folks out there, individuals who, as they look for help in different things in their life, people that have this background or is the primary way they take care of people with hypnosis, it's just a plus to help them with their goals.
100%. Yeah, I love it. I really do. And and I think the other thing that I'm really proud of is I see more and more of our hypnotists when they're coming in, and I think it's hopefully the influence of our instructors. Like when my students start, before they start, they have to show me a commitment to practicing their own self hypnosis, and I see hypnosis professionals getting better and better results. More that, here's my soapbox, right? More that we're actually applying our own skills that we teach people every day to our own businesses, to our own practices. And I just see so many hypnotists that were part-timers really growing and thriving and being able to create a full-time career now that they're actually applying these hypnosis skills to their own business practice, right?
As a coach, do you um, really push the idea that people should continue to advance their, especially in hypnosis, uh,
Mhm.
advance their training and or continue education in order to keep themselves at the top of the game?
100%. Like I said, I have tons of my clients that, everyone learns self hypnosis. If you're a client of mine, you will learn self hypnosis because I I don't want to ever have you feel like you need to call me because you don't know how to manage your own feelings or emotions, right? And so it's important to me. Step one, session one, everyone learns how to hypnotize themselves, right? And that's their job throughout our time together, is to deepen that practice. But many of them come to the training I call a deeper dive training, where they learn to understand more how it works and why it works. And then I'm shocked at the number of them that actually choose to go through the certification training because they really want to know that they have mastery of it.
Actually, that's important.
Mhm.
So I understand you're an author.
Yeah, I finally got a book published this last year.
Great. Let's talk about your book.
Well, it's actually the book is actually I'm a chapter, a co-art author in the book called The Exquisite Art of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy. It's a mouthful. The
Yeah.
Exquisite Art of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy by Freddie Jacquin. And so some of you might know him. He's in the UK. He's in England. And so he invited me to write a chapter in this book where I talk about the Grace Protocol. And I'm in the process, they're putting it on Audible, and he wants me to record it in my own voice. So I'm in the process of getting it out for Audible in my own voice as well. So I was really grateful because our hypnosis community, I mean, we just have such a great group of human beings that want to help each other. And one of the things I love about the NGH is what a global community we are. I know we're called the National Guild, but we are definitely an international organization. We have people all over the world part of the NGH, right? And so I just love how we get to meet people around the world and we get to support people in other fields. And so years ago when I met Freddie, he invited me to be a part of trance aid where it was we created and raised money for children to feed children around the world. And so when we met that way, then we deepened our connections, and he asked me to be a part of his book. So in the process of getting my own book out, but currently a published author in The Exquisite Art of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, along with a lot of other NGH certified folks in here, including students of mine like Nicholas Spohn and some others. But yeah, there's quite a few of us that are NGH trained that have a chapter in Freddie's book.
That's great. That's great. Now, with all the stuff you have to do and you have time to do that, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yes.
All right, now for Nothing Hypnosis.
Okay.
What does Sandra do for fun?
Oh, well, many of you know I'm a widow and a single mother, so I have a 15-year-old. So every day's an adventure as a mother of a 15-year-old. And in Iowa, they start driving at 14. So he's been driving himself since 14 and a half. So there's been that excitement lately. I also get to care for my mother. I have an 87-year-old mother with Alzheimer's and dementia, and I get to care for her. And so they're a huge part of my life. I have a beautiful puppy. He was a COVID puppy for my son, but of course now all day, every day at my feet while I'm working, that I get to love and care for. When I'm not doing those things, I love reading. I'm passionate about reading. You will see I have an extensive library, of which just a small part is behind me. So I do a lot of reading, and in this next few years, I'm really committed to increasing my hiking. I used to be a runner, and as a lot of you know, I had a series of surgeries, brain surgeries under hypnosis, and post surgeries, I stopped running, and so now I'm leaning into hiking, which I'm pretty excited about. So I might get out your way more because there's so many great places to hike in New England.
There's a lot of places to hike out here. I do not hike, and I do not run unless somebody's chasing.
Well, I've decided that I'm not sure at this beautiful age that I am now that running is the best thing for my body. So I've decided that I think hiking is going to be my next big adventure, which I'm pretty excited about. And more travel. I love to travel, and see different cultures and listen to other languages. And so more retreats with travel destinations, trainings and retreats and things like that, where we get to, go cool places, see cool things, and also, expand our mind. So.
That's great. See, that's why we like to ask some general personal stuff, and so everyone knows that you're a regular person too, not just 24/7 hypnosis. And
that's right. Well, I did recently sign up to become a yoga instructor, so I can train yoga teachers. And so I'm excited about adding that into my practice because I think it couples so well with hypnosis. And also I've recently purchased my personal trainer certification so that I'll be a personal trainer. And again, I just feel like personal trainers, need to be trained in hypnosis. And so as I, lean into those fields and those new certifications that I have coming up, training folks in those fields under hypnosis, I think is just really powerful for the people they serve.
So there's no stopping you. You just like the Energizer Bunny, right? You just keep on going.
Well, I was laughing the other day because someone was asking me about the Order of the Braid, which I was so honored to receive this year. And so someone was asking me about that. And I said, yeah, when I read about what exactly it's for, it says it was like a lifetime achievement. So I said, I'm not sure if they think I'm older than I am or they think I'm just sort of done. But it was I was obviously kidding because it was such a sweet recognition. And also, I was like, man, I still got stuff to do.
There you go. I mean, that's a good attitude. You want to, because you can't stop. I mean, there's lots of things in life you want to get done. So, including
that's the beauty of our careers. I was with some girlfriends on a weekend travel, and everyone was saying, I got 2 years to retirement, I got 3 years to retirement. I'm going to retire. It was like, and what about you? And I was like, I will likely do this to my last breath. I love what I do so much. I'm so grateful that I found hypnosis and coaching. Like, I'm so grateful. It's one of my favorite things, and of all the things I could do in the world, this is so fun to empower people and support people in this way. I can't imagine ever not wanting to do this, but.
Exactly. Why would you want to stop? 2025, the NGH is celebrating its 75th anniversary. That doesn't mean I'm 75 years old. Just, the NGH has been around that long, and we're obviously going to be going a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
What's your What's your take on your involvement of being part of the NGH?
Well, I've been really proud, like I said, to become certified from art back in 2007, and I have the most incredible respect for all of my trainers that I've had over the years through the NGH, and I've always hoped to hold the standard to be one of those instructors and trainers myself, and so I've been speaking to my students more and more about coming, and every year I have a handful that come to the convention. And so I've been really leaning into the idea of, what has to happen for us to have the biggest numbers yet for 2025. So don't think I haven't been thinking, because I have. And, what would have to happen if we could bring back some of the folks that were regular attendees, and then just, they stopped traveling to conventions after the pandemic or something, like what would have to happen for us to get everyone excited about rallying and get the biggest number that we've had since I've ever known NGH this year. And I'm thinking, I think the biggest answer for me is, I think that all of us that know and love the NGH could just consider, what would have to happen in us for us to personally invite some of our colleagues and friends. What would have to happen in order for me to call up some of my friends that I haven't seen at the last few conventions and say, hey, how can I support you in getting there? What's felt like hard about getting to the convention? What has to happen for you to come and join me this year? And so I would just want to encourage my fellow colleagues to think about that. Like, if you could think of a handful of your friends that you haven't had a chance to see at a convention in a while, or that maybe are members but usually just fulfill their chapter meetings instead of coming to convention. What would have to happen for you to invite them to say, I know you love your chapter meetings, and what would have to happen in order for you to come back to a conference? So maybe something as simple as that. We just do personal invitations, and if you think of it like you're just planning this awesome party, who do you want to be at the party? If we all just invited a handful of friends, I can't imagine what a bash we're going to have this year.
But you think about, the fact that, and you already mentioned it as we were talking, that the NGH is a tight knit group in the sense that people can call on each other, they rely on each other, and at the annual convention, it's like old home day with everybody getting together and being able to network with each other.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, every year I learn so much, and one of my favorite humans is Ron Esslinger. And I remember when I was new and I came to convention and I had taken some of his trainings, and I asked him one time, I said, "Man, can I ask you a personal question?" He's like, "Well, you can ask, I might answer. And I said, "Well, so here's my question, Ron." I said, I notice you every hour on the hour going in and out of these rooms. And I'm looking at the people that are teaching and I'm thinking, you probably taught all of us, or like when he came into my room, how honored was I that he was going to listen to one of my presentations, right? And I go, what's going on? And he said, well, Sandra, I'm just looking for a pearl, there's probably going to be a pearl in there that's going to help me. And ever since then, that's never left me. And every time I go to any convention for any of my certifications, I just walk in a room, I just go, I'm just looking for the pearl. And so I think to myself, like, how cool is our community that people like Ron with so much experience and knowledge, and how many did he teach and train over the years? And he still comes to learn from the students, and the students of the students, right? And so I just feel like, convention is so great for that. And so I love that about convention. But if we're going to be really honest, kind of just love dancing with my girlfriends at the party.
All about the party, isn't it?
Right. It's so fun, the traditions, and, Peter Blum, how much do I love, like, after we get the party and everything, then just put on your comfies and, lay on the floor and let him come and share. Like, so many of the extras that are part of the convention that, people don't even know that they, these are traditions that we all look forward to. Right. And those after convention conversations that happen at the corner bar, right? Like, all of those things that just contribute so deeply, and the pre-conference things, where we still get to do the yoga or the tai chi, like all these extra things that we get to do, right, as a community. It's fantastic.
I think that's what it really makes it into a really tight community, in the sense that we can all rely on each other. And as a membership, I mean, that's why, like I said, it's a networking thing, and people just love the fact that it's Old Home Week.
I love it. I love it. I look forward to it. Yeah. And I think that's when I think about the next convention, what a cool celebration to be a part of an organization that's been around with such a exemplary reputation for so many years. How blessed are we, right? And yeah, and so just to come back and just celebrate that we get to be a part of that.
Excellent. Well, I love the fact that you took the time to talk with us on our Hypnosis NGH podcast.
Nice.
Can't wait to run into you at one of these conventions or somewhere down the road.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed our time together, and I really love the idea that we get to support each other in this community with our unique gifts and talents and abilities. And, I just know that no matter what I've got going on in my personal and professional life, that I've got a really nice Rolodex. I mean, I know that's the old school term, but I have a really nice Rolodex of colleagues that I can lean on. I can't tell you how many times I've been through something in my life or had something happening, and I just knew whatever it was, I could just reach out to one of our colleagues and that they would be there with their expertise to support me. And I hope that as a community that we all know that we're all going to have our strong years and our years of opportunity for growth, and just knowing that we can lean into one another for that is just such a blessing. And I hope everyone does that they reach out to one another in that way. But I know I feel supported.
Excellent. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Hypnosis NGH podcast. You're welcome to share your ideas for future podcasts by emailing us, nghpodcast@ngh.net.